Okay, and we are back in Adelaide, and it's Thursday night. And I think I've already decided, in terms of the format, if I am too tired to think in any way, shape, or form creatively, and I feel like just having a play, I may as well record it and create the conditions in which I guess, try and get something out of the session, or pretend that someone else might want to get something out of the session. So I actually had a fair bit of fun discovering a few of the features on a bunch of plugins I've bought over the years, and I discovered that there's still a few more that I haven't touched. So I might as well just pick up where I left last night and just see what we can discover. In fact, last night I do remember we were the last delay we looked at was the Papen delay, and that one was a bit overwhelming, a bit like Sigmund, which we started with. And as it turns out, those two have quite an amount in common, and I'll just touch on that when I get to it. I'm just going to load up another Replika XT. Okay, what's that? Okay, so the source that we're using is just, I guess, just a basic percussion element, a kick drum, and I'm currently, we'll just go back to Papen. And where's that? So yeah, now this one is quite incredible. In fact, this could be, I think I bought this as part of a group buy for $10, and it's, probably easily the best or the most powerful delay out of the ones that I've looked at so far. It actually has 6 separate delays. I've just got that you can actually configure, a lot like Sigmund, which has, I guess, 4 taps. A much bigger user interface. This one is a lot more compact, and I'm not sure about the color scheme or even the way that they've laid out the presets. But in fact, just on that, with the presets, there's a shitload of presets here that you sort of have to dig into the menu system to discover. But obviously the quick browse, I think, is probably the way to go. And it's got them broken up into insert, if you're just going to put it on a channel, or send. But you've got to go through a whole bunch of menus to get to them. I'm sure that, I'm sure there'd be a better way of doing this, but it's funny when you create such a powerful piece of software, and then fundamental stuff like the navigation system is comparatively primitive. But this is worth sort of just focusing on, because it looks like there's a hell of a lot of presets that despite being hard to get to, seem to focus on specific tasks. So a delay for vocals, for percussion, for I guess percussive elements, for creating grooves, and then you've got a few sound designer presets here as well, which I think could be quite interesting to sort of look at a later point. But what I didn't focus on yesterday is, look, we've got this delay pretty much does everything. You've got you can treat it, you can use it for mono source material. You've got a basic stereo delay, so each line can be configured in either a mono or stereo, it appears. And then you've got dual stereo. Now, if we just go through these, you've got mono, obviously in to out, just single delay. Delays A, B, C on delay 1, and delays ABC or delay 2 they're not available to be used. You can, it appears, shit, what have I done there? Okay, so we've got a mono delay, and it basically limits you to delay A. For some reason, the reverse delay, which I actually am not familiar with, is available as an option there, but all the other delays are obviously blocked. So stereo delay, it's exactly the same, except that this delay now operates in stereo, where you can obviously pan everything. We then go to dual stereo. So we've got 2 delay lines, both stereo in their configuration. Channel split. So this is where it's interesting. You've got, I'm sure you probably want to have a look at the manual to see how this actually works. But channel A then gets split and goes into delays B and C in parallel, which then get mixed together and then through to the outputs. Now I think you'd either you're really just experimenting, I think, when you're playing with these types of presets, just to see how things sound, and if you get lucky, you might want to play around with them, because I think if you start thinking about what you're actually doing with these types of configurations, you know, I think you need to have, it needs to be early in the morning after a big glass of big cup of coffee, I think. Channel split multi is similar to the channel split. Let's see, how does it differ? Okay, so the channel split goes from A, so the left goes into B, the right goes into C, whereas with split multi, they both go into B and C, and B and C are obviously configured as stereo, I think. Serial multi, when A feeds into B, feeds into C, which would be, it's fairly easy to understand. Parallel multi, and here, yeah, so each so you've basically got 6 delays, 6 stereo delays that get mixed together. So that's a lot like what we saw in Sigmund. Full serial, where you've basically got delay going into A, B, C, and then you could call these D, E, and F, even though they're A, B, and C. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. I don't know what that would sound like. Just it's pretty interesting. What do I do with that? Okay, so that's what it is. I might just bring it back to something which is a bit simpler, just the basic stereo delay, because over here we've got some more settings, and it's tape easy. So what does tape delay mean? Let's just see if we can hear what the difference is. Okay, let's make this a 16th note, and we'll make this an 8th note. Okay. We might get the feedback back to nothing, so just get the taps to start with. What do we got here? Is there some type of modulation? Okay. We'll turn that off. Okay. Sync. It's pretty interesting. So why are we not getting... It's not really sounding the way I would have expected. So I guess we've gone back to some sort of default there. If we just go easy, what does that mean? We've got sort of stereo delay. There seems to be some type of feedback there. Oh, okay, so let's turn this off. Ah, okay. What does this mean? Equal feed. Okay. So we've got our two taps now. This delay effect is actually, this reverse effect I think is really interesting, especially for some sort of reverse vocal delays. Anyway, this is interesting. The other thing that is also interesting is this, it's basically, the modulation section is just crazy. You've got everything from, you can MIDI trigger it, you can set up modulation sources like, I don't know, what would we do? You can modulation wheels, LFOs. So if we selected an LFO, what happens there? Just set modulation wheel. So you've then got all these LFOs. So what have we got here? You've got envelopes and LFOs. You've got 4 envelopes, 4 LFOs that you can configure. The envelope triggered by, I don't know, so you've got, AHD envelopes. The LFOs, hum, what the hell is that? This is, it's crazy. You could spend a week getting familiar with this effect. And then the step sequencer, which is interesting because you could just do something simple like to set up 2 steps, set the date destination to delay 1A, and we'll set it to the pan. And we'll add a bit of feedback. I'll slow this down so it's make it draw stuff in here. What else could we set it to? The length. Ah, it's not working because we haven't set the modulation amount. Yeah, that's really cool. If we sped that up, something like 4 times. Oh, 3 times. That's in the length. How about we just set it to the feedback? That's a bit weird. So hang on. The volume, so get a bit tremolo happening. So if we get the panning, get another LFO happening, do something else. I don't know, just draw something weird in here. Set the destination to the length. Yeah, you get some mad stuff happening. Anyway. Anyway, that's RP delay. That's pretty cool. All right, what's the next one? Groove delay. So this is a built-in effect with Studio One. And from memory, this is actually pretty damn good. I've just hesitated using it because if I was to switch between, you know, different DAWs or machine or something like that, I just want to have the flexibility of bringing across familiar effects with me. So I haven't really used it, but if this was a VST, this would be about as good as anything that we've looked at so far. Source material, what are we going to grab? Maybe a vocal or something. What do we got? Club vocals. What's this? Shots and sounds.
After party. Hi. Ain't it funky? All right. All right.
Okay. So.
All right. All right. All right. All right. All right.
Okay.
All right. All right.
Okay, so.
All right.
Oh shit, that drives you a bit nuts.
All right.
So. What do we got here? So we've got basically 4 taps, and we've got a grid that we can control here that you can set as the highest frequency is 1/64th notes. So if we just bring it back to something that's, you know, I guess groovy, so 16th notes. It's got a global feedback, so you've got a mix setting. We've locked it to wet. We've got the grid, and then we've got these taps. And then you can control these different settings. But so we're currently set to tap 1, and with this, you can see that we can control the groove, which basically is the timing of it. So it's set to 16th notes, and you know. So this is 2/16. This would be 1/8. So this is 1/16 notes. And you can control the level of that tap. It then has its own feedback setting. So.
All right. All right.
So that's,
all right. All right.
So
all right.
That's taps playing as well. So we've got 1 tap.
All right.
We might move it to.
All right.
1/8.
All right. All
we've got this going off to the right. So
Alright.
for each tap, you can look at the pan. You can set. They have
Alright.
for each tap, you can control the volume, the pan, the cutoff frequency, and then the swing. What does the swing do? So the swing. Don't understand that. So
Alright.
let's bring in another tap. Why do these go together? So tap 2, tap 3, and tap 4. Let's go to the level. Tap 3 is blue. Ah, okay. Okay. So let's set the grid here. So here you can control. So it's set to 1/4. That sends it to 1/2. The groove moves it around the beat. Okay, that's interesting. So what do we get?
Alright.
So we might set this up so we start with the pan, and we'll create a bit of a ping pong effect here. See what that does.
Alright. Alright.
And we'll get them to drop off on the level.
Alright.
Feedback. See what impact. Okay. Let's go to the cutoff. So tap 1, I've got filter cutoff and resonance settings here. So it's a hype. What type of filter it is, I'm not sure. Let's just go to the levels. And so it looks like there's some type of LFO modulation here. So if we go to the cutoff, tap 3. Okay, we'll bring that in play, and tap 4. We'll just bring the feedback globally out so we can just hear the impact of that. And you can control the type of the filter here. So let's go for a high pass. interesting. So maybe we'll go for, what's this another?
Baby, baby. Baseline. 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 Baseline.
Yeah, so you can get some. It's it sounds like a.
Baseline. Baseline.
That's without the delay.
Baseline.
Very dry. Add that
Baseline.
effect.
Baseline. Baseline.
See, yeah, that's got all kinds of possibilities. So anyway, let's move on to something else. The next one will be Le Masque from Zills, I think. What do we got?
Baseline. Baseline.
Okay. So this one looks like a fairly conventional. Shit, I haven't used this forever. You can see why I've got so many delay plugins, because I've never really found the one that I was probably trying to walk before I was crawling a lot, I guess early days. This delay, what have we got? We've got a left and a right channel. We have some interesting user controls here. You've got these two rings. The ring on the outside looks like it's okay. So let's just, where's the level? Delay right and panning. Okay, so we'll start with the level, which looks like, so feedback. Okay, so what's labeled at the top is the outer ring. What's labeled at the bottom is the inner ring. So we've got a 2-tap delay with feedback and timing controls here, and we can control the level and panning here. So the outer ring is the pan, the inner ring is the level. Wet dry, we would want it to be 100% wet, and we would want to lock that general output level. So that's the wet dry. Okay. And I think we just want to keep this simple, because this has got effectively a sort of, it's actually, I can't even remember what this does, but it's sort of like a modulation section where you can turn the delay on and off in a rhythmic manner, a bit like the step sequencer on the Rob Papen potentially. It might be a bit different. So it's actually a fair bit simpler than a lot of the other ones we've looked on if we don't look at this mask feature. So we've got a feedback, we've got the filter here, which I guess is related to the feedback settings that we've got here. So so we've got no feedback, we've got 2-tap delay. It might be good just having a percussive sample. I'll save this for later. If I just get a percussive sample, like a clap or something. Drum kit, drum. Let's have a look. Cosmic one-shots, claps. Perfect. Okay, so okay. Why the hell? Okay, anyway. So where are we? We've got Malawas delay. We've got 2 taps. Okay, so we've got let's just make it 1/16 notes, so Okay. Actually, we might make it 1/8, 1/4. Okay. So effectively, I've set it up. We've got 2 taps. The first one is the left is fully left. The next one is fully right. We can control the volume. Make the left one a bit louder. It's funny, you still feel like you can hear some very slight feedback there. So what we'll do is so we've added some feedback to the left signal. Okay. I think we might just get rid of that. Okay, so I think we had some crazy groove delay CPU spike there, which caused us a bit of some feedback issues. And in the meantime, I've actually deleted the Zil Labs, so we'll go back to that, try and get it back. So we will make this a wet, and we'll lock that. These are obviously panned left and right. Have this set to, 1/8 note, and this set to 1/2 note. Pretty basic. And I'm not hearing anything. Why is that? Because my send isn't working. Okay, perfect. So we've set this to high pass and have this all the way up, all the way down. Or we can go to low pass and have it all the way up. We've got the 2 taps. We'll add a bit of feedback to the. We might make the second tap the 8th note and the first one the 1/4 note, or the 1/2 note. Okay. We'll add a bit of feedback on the last one. Okay. So if we get these happening at higher frequencies, might be able to see what the impact of this mask feature is. So we've just set it to 1 bar. This is manual time, I think, isn't it? So we're going to swap mask. We have an LFO section here where we can have just a basic LFO. We can set it to sync. We'll just set it to tempo times 2, which should be half notes. We'll set it. Set it to say whole notes. Okay. Modulation. Okay. You can see that it's controlled here. We'll set that as a sine wave, I think. You can obviously merge the shapes here. Slow the LFO down a bit. Okay, so that's interesting with the LFO. The high pass, low pass thing gets me. So low pass means everything below the frequency will get passed. So if I turn this off, we'll turn the modulation off. Okay, they lose points for not resetting this on a double click or even being able to let you type it in, can you? No. So this feedback thing seems to sort of hold the feedback, so it'll sustain. Oh, danger. We might just play around with some of the presets just to get an idea of what this can do. So we've got full bus, full sync. Pretty basic, nothing's using the mask yet. Sort of sample hold. So there's a modulation section here as well. There's a modulation wheel. This is full sync. So we'll go multi-mask. I think this is where it obviously gets a bit interesting. Shit. Masque. So not sure. I've got this thing here. So we've got zoom all. Shit, this is complicated. Shit, I got no time for this. You want to have some good presets to justify trying to understand what the hell. So you got number of bars, I understand that. Mask on. So I guess, what is this thing? The mask. So effectively what this is, I can control when the effect is. So the number of bars, this is 1 bar. The precision, we've got, just set it to, does that mean it's, you can snap it? So this controls the snap. Okay, that's understood. Snap off. Oh, and then you can create new masks and then right click deletes them. Okay. Okay, that's actually, and then this, what does that control? Does this have a help? And the locator, what does this do? So maybe this is an attack and release for when the mask, so it fades the effect in. Okay, we'll see how this sounds. Snap it. Mask level on. What does that mean? Swap. What does swap do? What the hell does that do? Okay, so you can control. Okay, so you can select multiple masks at a time using this. If I hit zoom, snap. Okay. Time and tempo. What does this do? So the locator level. Locator, so this is locator. So that's the locator level, I reckon. And so that would be a modulation source then, is it? Filter frequency. Pump up the feedback. So the grid, it's not doing anything. It's literally not doing anything. So it's a bit weird, you can't control it very easily. Control these levels. I would have thought that controls the filter. So if I go to time and modulation, locator level, filter frequency, LFO and envelope, turn that off. Swap. So somehow this is alright, I might have to do a quick dive into with a menu. What's this? Options. Delay about. User manual. It's not in French, is it? Oh shit. Okay, so what do we got? Got something interesting actually going there, so we might just persist with it for a bit. Okay, got plenty of feedback. Can probably bring that a bit. So we go to the grid. We've got a low pass filter, so low will be low frequencies. Bring this down, because what does that mean? Time and filter. This is full sort of Doctor Who stuff, isn't it? Alright. That's that. The Masque. Guess that would take some getting used to, that thing. Alright, so maybe we'll just take a quick look at the last one, which will be Replika. Okay, so we're going to set this up so that it's... I haven't really used this. So what do we got here? The mix, we want to have pattern, panning. So this is a bit like the Studio One, where you've got these taps, it appears, and you can control the left, so the left and the right, and you can control the duration. That's actually quite cool. So we can set, so it's set to sync, and then we, this is actually really cool. Okay, so that's pretty cool. So ducking, got no idea what that does. Got some settings here. We can go for tape delay. Just gives it a bit of a tonal change. Wow, and flutter a bit like echoes. So you got a single stereo delay, I guess. To 1 bar. Okay, panning, options, ping pong. That's cool. This is good. So we've got dotted 16ths here. Just make it straight. So you got drop. Huh. And you've got delay over here. Okay. This is good. This is really good. This is simple. It's very visual. It's much better than what we were looking at before with Masque. In fact, even most of the other delays. I think my other favourites were really the simple, the Nomad Factory ones. But this is pretty cool. So we can set it up with no feedback. We get the 2 taps. You can have it standard, or you can have ping pong. And so you could standard, you could create like a little house effect, I guess. So you could go with the options, pattern, panning, create a bit of an offset. Okay. I guess the one thing this is not as good at is it doesn't give you that separate control of the taps like the others. Everything's kind of, there's a sort of a global flavour in terms of the adjustments that you make. Anyway, this one, single delay, dual delay. Maybe I'll have to take that back. Ooh. What? Shit, this is crazy. Alright, well this one, I think there might be another episode on this if I'm not sick of delays tomorrow night. So, alright, well that's it from me. A bit of fun. Good night.